During the Italian Renaissance, there were the Florentines with their intricate, exquisite frescoes painted with deep thought. They saw what they were going to bring forth, and that intellectual activity was brought forth into this exquisite miniature paintings. And we also had the Venetians who brought forth the great oil paintings. Layer after layer was added to these paintings, such that the painter who conceived one picture could go forth and produce something totally different by the end of his painting. If Jane Austen is a fresco painted by an Andrea del Sarto, then Charlotte Bronte is a great oil painting, multi-layered, brought forth by Etienne Richelieu. So here today I have the book Jane Eyre, written by Charlotte Bronte. This is a personal favorite. This is an iconic work in British literature. I read this work at a very young age and I felt deeply impressed by it. Today I will not be dwelling on the story, for I do envy that person for whom this story is going to unfold for the first time. This is a Gothic work, we can call it. You can also call it a Bildungsroman because it deals with the growth of a young girl from childhood to becoming a mature young lady. Here we can see that Bronte brought forth such a dark, deep romanticism. Her Byronic hero, that is Rochester in the story, is the epitome of the Byronic hero. We could say all the Bronte sisters were very much taken up by Lord Byron, and this hero was for them the ultimate. Whether it is a Heathcliff in Wuthering Heights or a Rochester in Jane Eyre or the Professor. When we talk about Charlotte Bronte, you immediately remember the two sisters, that is Anne Bronte and Emily Bronte. All three sisters wrote at a period where women were not having the freedom or the rights or equality before the law as men. And yet, at that period, we can see that they wrote works in which individualism was celebrated. Here in Jane Eyre, Jane is portrayed as helpless. She is an orphan. She is plain. She has nothing to speak for herself. She has no riches, no family name. She is a plain governess. She is somebody who is way below in the social status. And yet, in that helplessness, Bronte brings forth how powerful she is, how unique she is, how she stands up for herself. And that is the beauty, to show in this helpless state the very powerful essence of a person's spirit. When Jane Eyre tells Mr. Rochester, when she says, stripped of all the frivolities or stripped of all the material things, if I stand before you spirit to spirit, soul to soul, as God has created us, I am your equal. So here we see the power of the woman. At the period when Jane Eyre was brought forth, Charlotte Bronte was accused even of a rather immoral writing. Immorality was seen in the work. This is what some critics of the period said. To touch on topics like adultery or, of a woman actually speaking about desires, all this was considered immoral. And here Bronte gave the very strong statement, conventionality is not morality. So here she was sticking by the conscience or the spirit. We also see a lot of Gothic motifs. The Bronte sisters were very much influenced by the Gothic literature of the period. So there is a lot of darkness, and the very romance has such shadows cast on it. It was a period when the French Revolution had just got over. So those themes of equality, fraternity, liberty, the quest for independence, the quest for the independent spirit was all seen in the neighboring Britain too. And these feelings also you can see portrayed here. She wrote this work with a very enigmatic title, The Autobiography of a Lady, which created that uh, suspicion among people. Was Bronte herself Jane Eyre? Is this her own story? But it is said that she used to get very angry when she was called Jane Eyre, for she actually was called by the name Jane Eyre in certain circles. For so much did the reading public identify her with this heroine of hers. It was a smashing hit in 1847, and I would say it is still a smashing hit. It continues to inspire, it continues to make us, stay and believe in that suspense. Charlotte Bronte, along with her sisters, wrote in order to win money too. When you think of that concept of these young women, these young ladies, they wrote in order to be the breadwinners for their family. Charlotte Bronte also had a certain, she had a period in which she was very close to a certain professor who taught her French. She was so close to him, and we can see that he inspired this character Rochester. And perhaps that love story, which in her own real life never materialized, she brought forth in Jane Eyre, and she lent colors to it. So, this is a story that you definitely should have on your list. This is one of the most iconic stories of the growing up and of a spirit, a soul coming to be a strong, independent person. Thank you.